Hey everybody, we are recording an update to our Save Bald Move campaign, and we are blown away by the response. Honestly,
Yeah.
let's get right to the data, and see what we got going here. Let me see if I can do this properly. So this is our Save Bald Move site, and you can see that we are a week into this campaign, not even quite, because we released the video, I believe, last Wednesday night. So Thursday was pretty much the first full day, which we considered a soft launch all through the weekend because our biggest megaphone is our podcast, and we hadn't gotten this on any of our podcasts except for I think American Horror Story, which is one of our smaller megaphones. But we are at 91% of our goal at $25,000. Now you might because I don't think our call to action had a specific dollar amount. We know we had to get a sizable amount of the $38,000 before the harsh Georgia winter set in because we were going bankrupt. Now, how did we know that? I'm actually going to take you through a spin through our Bald Move money document.
Some amateur accounting.
Same amateur accounting. Well, it's not super amateur. I was paid for many years to do this professionally for a corporation, but I could make mistakes.
Definitely no CPAs in the room.
There are no CPAs in the room. I started off with a fresh dollar amount that we got from our bank account today. We're sitting here at $21,586 in our account. And as you can see, we are looking pretty bleak, which you guys knew that, right? So let's take a fresh infusion of 25,000. Let's assume that we're going to get we're going to get to the promised land. What did that buy us? Well, we don't go bankrupt. We hit the nadir in May, and then we actually end the year with a little bit of surplus in the bank. So your fundraising has already saved Bald Move. Because here's the other thing about these numbers is these numbers don't take into account the increased club price. And we can actually play with that. If I go down to, there's tons and tons of stuff in here. This is essentially how we make predictions. Also, if we want to go back in history, when I tell you how stupid we were to try to do this in 2014, our goal was to raise $30,000 through a small business loan and then see how long that would actually buy Bald Move at our projections. And we actually projected to go bankrupt in January.
And we did it anyway.
And we did. We're like, fuck it, we'll do it anyway because we had some of our own personal money, and that's when you see us. When I showed you the previous video, when you saw how little money we took in 2014, well, this is why we saw this, and this is something that we continually updated and we've been refining.
And we were also like, it's either going to work or it's not, and if it doesn't, we want to know that early.
Right.
So,
and all these things have separate tabs. Like we had a way to, predict year to year and month to month increase for Amazon and see that stuff steadily. And then all comes crashing down to shit and divided by zero. You can't do that. You can't run a business with division by zero.
Right.
This column here represents the money we were hoping to get in. You can see that's substantial. We also had this club thing, which I just added recently, a way to model because, quite frankly, one thing that sucks about increasing the price of the club, besides all the things we've already stated, is it throws a complete brick through all of our projections. Like we had finally gotten enough history with the club that I was able to make good month over month and year over year predictions to see like how the club would actually grow. Mm-hmm. So if our plan is to effective immediately increase the monthly by 250%, right?
Yeah,
because you go from 2 to 5. Yearly increase goes from 12 to 48. That's a 4 times yearly increase. So if we take that and we apply that to all the months going forward, and we leave it at 100% retention, ooh, I see some fat, juicy numbers. I bet that's going to look awesome for our cash flow. And indeed, woo, $250,000 in the Bald Move coffers next year.
Right. We just need everybody to sign back up at the new
price. And also to continue our growth model from the previous years when we were doing this for $1.
Right.
That ain't going to happen. So, like, what does this look like at 0.25%? Like if 3 out of 4 bald move people say no thanks, I don't want see the value, I don't support this.
Probably looks basically the same.
Now there's a couple problems here.
4 times 0.25 is 1.
Yeah, this shouldn't happen because obviously people can't demand money back. Well, I mean they can, but they probably wouldn't, not in that amount. But still at 25% with the new club, right? We are not bankrupt. If we go something I think is closer to what my gut tells me, or I guess a worst case scenario for my gut is a 50% retention ratio. If we go back and look at that, I was gratified to see that this adds up pretty close to what I had done for my spreadsheet calculations before I had sat down and did it right. I think I'm off less than $1,000 from what I estimated. So at 50%, 91,000. We needed 93, and we've already paid 8 of that. So we actually could. It would probably be foolhardy to spend that close to our reserve, and obviously we couldn't bring in an employee until late in the year because we wouldn't have the money. But
and we haven't calculated in the overhead of having an employee.
Right.
There's a lot involved in that.
But still, we could probably do half of the stuff we wanted to do at 50%.
Yeah.
And if we go back and look at the if we make this retention a little bit sweeter, 75%, that's kind of like my optimistic. I hope 3 out of 4 club members come back to the club. That's where you start getting, not quite easy street, but you can do everything that we want to do and have a cushion to make sure that we know that even if we misunderestimated I don't know why I always do that. If we underestimated the employee cost or we underestimated the cost, there's some last minute changes and out of scope shit for the app that we wouldn't bust.
I think
so.
Yeah, and I know there's some built-in problems with like just multiplying the current club cost by 2.5 for monthly because it's more like 2 or less than 2. It's like 1 point something.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. But, also like there's a couple things we did to we only applied you guys might be, well, you applied the retention and decrease to all your monthly. That's what we did at first, and we're like, what the fuck is going on? We actually only did that because like that retention should just be a one-time blow, and also it's not going to hit all at once. It's going to be this and if I worked at my old job, they'd pay me for like a week to come up with the correct answer for this. But there's a blend. Like you're going to have some people at the $2 a month, and they're going to slowly upgrade to the $5 or drop off. So you'd have to model a nice smooth curve. Mm-hmm. This kind of like assumes that you're just going to take the smack right up front. So it's probably overly pessimistic. But then again, Jim could probably tell you 3 reasons why it's overly optimistic. But the bottom line is, I think you guys have done it. You have successfully secured the future. Like, we're not going to go bankrupt. We're not going to go out of operations. We can all breathe a sigh of relief that we're going to survive the harsh Ohioan winter.
Right. And I am, as you mentioned, probably the pessimist of the two of us when it comes to financial projections. I'm also a bit of an android. So, like, emotionally. So when I say that the amount of support that you guys have shown has touched me personally, it is not a light thing for me.
I cried Saturday afternoon because it hit me. I was at this child's birthday party, and I'd kind of gotten I'd gone into the private room, and I was looking at I was on talking with people on the forums. If you guys are on the forums, I was pretty active this weekend. And I was seeing the projections, and like I just realized, like, oh my God, this hadn't even started, and we're halfway there.
Right.
And the realization that this was happening because people that I don't know want us to succeed and essentially be happy.
Yeah, that's intense.
I can't properly. You're talking to a guy whose mother's disowned him, whose brother's disowned him, who all of my this is the only best friend that I've had in my life that hasn't disowned me. That have that kind of unconditional support it was really emotional.
Yeah, same here.
And I thought we would do it, but the fact that we're going to do it in a week is ridiculous.
It's insane. It's more support than I ever thought we would get for this.
Yeah. So the update is everything looks like it's going gangbusters. I mean, this is only one day of Westworld. I don't know what we do because we didn't intend to hit it this quickly. I don't know whether we should continue collecting a little bit of money to run up the score or to
I'm
maybe
certainly not going to push like save Bald Move as hard because
yeah.
Bald Move has been saved at this point.
Right. And it's so
At
funny
least
because
for the next year.
we agonized over how, like, man, we don't want to seem like we're shitting our pants because we are pretty confident, but also we don't want to make it seem like, oh, whatever.
Right, laissez-faire.
We didn't want to seem like we cared less about it than you guys. And we're introverts and we're not moved by strong emotional appeals ourselves, so it's hard for us to make them. But you guys have come through. You guys and gals have come through, and here in America, I know that approximately 50% of us got really bad news this morning, really good news. But for Bald Move, as far as the state of the Bald Move Union, it's strong and secure through 2017, and I feel like the theme now is this is in Jim and I's ballpark. It's back, like it's whether we survive now. We've been given every advantage. We now need to carefully monitor the club and see what these retentions are doing and make smart decisions. We need to continue getting these ad campaigns together. We need to put the merch together.
Yeah, for me, like in the future, it's going to be about the value that you guys see in the club.
Right. Because we know that's, there was definitely, the value proposition. Obviously, and you jack the price of the club up four times. It's not necessarily there. So
right.
We can probably talk about a few things that we are putting together, right?
Yeah. As of last night, I have a working live audio player that you can tune in live to our podcasts. I'll get the word out on how to take advantage of that.
That's for club only, obviously, but this is a feature. Right. We have been doing live video. We're going to be doing simultaneous live audio,
which is great for people who, they complain about video because they can't stream it in the background. They can't maybe watch it on their phone while they're doing other things.
Right, and it chews up a lot bandwidth if you're like out driving around. Like
don't have Wi-Fi at the office.
Turning on a 480p stream on your phone is for 2.5 hours is a lot different than a 64 kps or you're actually gilding the lily. You're going 128.
Yeah, why not? Let's go high quality on this thing.
Taste it, data plans.
We can pump it out. I mean. Yeah, maybe there's something to be said for low quality live streaming, but
and you know what? You can have a say in that. Like if there's a majority of you say, "Hey, leave it at 64K. We want to save a couple of megabytes." We can do it. Fuck it.
Right, but the great news for people is now they'll have an option. They don't have to wait to download the podcast. They can get it live and they can get it in audio form, kind of the way that a lot of people have been subscribing to it.
Yeah, it's a podcast. It's not like we do a lot of visual. I mean, sometimes in lunch we get a little crazy.
Yeah.
That's going to apply to lunch and all the stuff going forward.
Live recordings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about live watch. That doesn't. I mean, I guess maybe it'd be hard to sync.
Yeah, because you don't have any way to sync it up. Yeah. We'll see. And also, I don't know if we're going to be ready like this weekend or next week, but like within it's weeks, not months, that this new feature is going to come.
Right. So we're already starting to add value to the club, and I want to continue that.
Yep. We got some ideas to do that, and there's also been an outpouring of non-material supports. Jim and I are working on a document today about what are the needs. Like if we could fully staff Bald Move, what are all the positions we'd need? And we're going to start matching those with people that have volunteered to help us and try to find the candidates that have the skill sets we need to slot them in, and how we can bust off little pieces of the Bald Move operation to, because like updating these spreadsheets. That's something that a person that we trust with, essentially spreadsheet access, and we could tell them if. I don't know if we'll give you a bank account access, but
informing decisions on the future of Bald Move is probably part of that as well. So
yeah, and you definitely want to check your work, but there's a lot of work into keeping that, and we have other statistical worksheets like our stats trackers and stuff. Like that stuff all is overhead that we're not producing content or doing anything directly for you guys. It's just the nuts and bolts of making Bald Move work, and video editing. We've got some trials for people, Fiery Hoops. Dare you open Edition and edit video. But I appreciate that stuff too, and obviously the first order of the day was to get the financials working, and we've got that. Now we're going to start looking at some non-material help, because honestly I was shocked, and I'm not sure how comfortable I'm with taking advantage, quote unquote, of volunteer labor. I definitely would like to get an actual employee at some point, but boy, that's with the amount of people and the talented people that have stepped forward, like I feel like that's going to be a huge thing for Bald Move too.
Yeah, and as you can see, from the spreadsheet we showed earlier, it's not like we can afford to hire multiple people to do all this stuff, even with the projected numbers. So
Unless you guys all like we get 120% retention,
right.
and we sell our ad inventory, and because I mean that's the
Yeah.
other thing is like there's if we get into YouTube and we start getting some YouTube money, that's not on the spreadsheet. Increased merch is not on that spreadsheet now.
But
Increased
still,
merch is not huge. It'll be another $15,000 to $20,000 if we do it every quarter.
right.
For the year, but also like extra ad sales, which we are really trying to put pressure on our existing ad sales people. We got a meeting scheduled with them to see what we can do. We also have a couple of people that we're talking to that's another ad network that might represent us as well. So that's not on that sheet as well. But the bottom line is I can't conceive, again, knock on wood, who knows, but nothing I can see says that we're in immediate danger for 2017. And that's a really good feeling. And as we go, I would like to have, I don't know how often I can have these, but I definitely want to make this an annual tradition in Bald Move that we look back over the year and see how we did. Because a few months from now, February is a big month for us because if you recall, we launched the club at the beginning of February of 2015.
Right. So that's when a lot of our subscriptions
There's a lot, and that's like the hardcore. Like if you really loved Bald Move and you're in the dead of the winter and you're coming back for Walking Dead, like how many of those people will resubscribe? We've always had a positive retention rate. I don't expect that to continue, especially because it's not just.
The system will be in place by then. So.
Do you get like JW flashbacks when we start talking about the new system? I can't wait for the new system to be here. The new system's going to make our life so much better.
I honestly don't.
That's what we called Paradise, the new system. But when Paradise gets here, we'll know a lot more in the spring and especially in the summer when we start seeing like February's big because that was like the old school, the OG club members. Are they coming back?
Right.
Unfortunately, Game of Thrones comes back late. Mm-hmm. So it might look a little shitty in April and May when we are expecting to get Game of Thrones people, and the statistic and engine is expecting, and it's like, where the hell are these people? Yeah. But I mean, that's also like they will renew during that time, and are they going to come back? And then how many new people do we get in June when I think Game of Thrones actually does spin up for its last season, which is probably going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've done it. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I've been absolutely blown away by everybody's support. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, again, it was crazy. Like yesterday, I remember I sat down, I looked at the club, and it was like at 13%. And I went to go compile the Westworld feedback, and I came back 3 hours later, and it had jumped like 3% more.
Right.
It's a guy in the forum that was said that he's going to get a Bald Move tattoo if we get to 100%. I ain't gonna hold it to you, but he's gonna tattoo his butthole or something.
Sure.
Lots of stuff. People posted stuff on Reddit to help spread the word, which was actually well received on the podcast community. People posted blog posts. People were really slamming the Save Bald Move Twitter. I don't, other than Cecily whipping out her phone and filming me crying in a dark room on Saturday, I don't know how else I can how I can convince you of the fact of my gratitude, because I expected to prevail. I didn't expect that so many people would care to make it this easy and just completely crush my anxiety. So thank you, and you guys did it. And we're good. We're going to be saved. So how well we do, I think, is back in Jim and I's hands, and it's up for us to continue to make smart decisions. I hope by taking you through the spreadsheet, you see that we do take this kind of seriously, the business side of this, and spend a lot of time thinking about it. And I know a lot of people had a lot of suggestions, and it's so funny because as we're reading it, it's like reading the last several weeks of Bald Move internal meeting minutes, like all these different things we could try. And not just that, like
years.
Years.
We've been discussing these things
like
for
what
years,
are the pros and cons of paywall and all, like this stuff was
should we stay on Patreon? Should we go to our own club?
Sure.
Yeah. Everything you guys have brought to us with a couple of actual exceptions, with some things we hadn't thought about.
Right.
But yes, we do discuss these things all the time.
Yeah. So we'll have probably another update when this thing's all said and done. We might even be able to close this out yet today. It's still only like 1 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. By midnight, this thing could be over. So
Is
again,
it too early to call it? Is that what you're saying?
still waiting for
Day after elections. For
the
people who
fucking
don't know.
fucking Miami-Dade County. Still
Right.
waiting for their 50 cents. Can't call it until we get their 50 cents.
Yep.
But again, thank you, and we'll see you real soon with an update and maybe a little bit of a celebration. Lunch should be a joyous occasion this weekend or this Friday, and we will see you very soon. And thank you again so much.
Thanks.